I was just trying to kick off the recording. So anyone, if you have any question, you can raise your hand at any point in time, and I'll call you to ask questions. But I'm going to just start because I have some questions myself, and then anyone, once you raise your hand, I'll just call you up, and then you can continue. It used to be very prestigious to work for banks. I remember this when I was much younger. It was like when someone is a banker, it's like, ah, man, it's the best thing ever. Now, when I hear someone works in a bank, I just feel like they're suffering. I just feel like they are in a very stressful, probably unhealthy work environment and getting paid horribly. That's just what comes to mind now. But then I see what you guys are doing at Sterling. I feel like Sterling, you guys are being innovative. And you could have, maybe I could be wrong, or maybe you'd confirm, maybe a younger workforce. I don't know if that's wrong or correct.
I guess let me start by acknowledging that you're right. The work good.
Okay, yeah, this is better. You're mute. You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, we're good now. We're good.
Awesome, great.
So I was saying that you're right. The average person who worked in a bank, at least when I started, would probably be living an hour and a half or 2 hours away from the office and would have to be out of the house about 5 a.m. to avoid the traffic, and probably doesn't get back until about 9 or 10. So that was just the average person. If you had a different reality, it's probably because your parents could afford to pay for you to live closer to the office, or I guess you're one of the few people who have other means, right? So that's true. But worse than that reality was that there was, there was a saying in some banks that you're not paid to think, right? They actually had that as a saying, where young people are reminded that their job is to do as they are told, right? And that reality, something else, the fact that you could not exercise your creativity, that was true of many, many banks, and it's still true of many banking roles today. And of course, there was also the simple human aspect of it, where the culture in a lot of financial institutions was cruel. I mean, outright cruel in many cases. So this is what we inherited. This is what we saw, and this is sort of what we objected to in terms of trying to build the institution we're building. It comes at a price. Part of that is the fact that you're not going to go for anything that makes a profit, because that's why we end up paying those prices. It also means that you are planning for 10 years when your competitor are delivering in 10 months. And the average person on the street doesn't know the difference between that. So one of the things I say to people is that they've got this thing called cost to income ratio, which is, look, of every 100 naira that you make, how much of it do you end up not spending so that it becomes profit? And the truth is that every amount that you end up not spending is also, meaning that, that becomes profit, is also an amount that you did not invest, right? So sometimes if you take a call to make a long-term investment, then your profit short-term is going to suffer for it. But the average person doesn't know the difference between one cost to income ratio and the other, right? So there's a price to pay. And what are we doing? What are we doing differently? I think we have moved from hiring people who want to be bankers. I think we've gradually moved away from.
Nobody wants to be bankers now.
Well, so there's
nobody. Nobody. Someone said that whenever he sees someone studying microbiology, he's like, "Oh, there's a future banker."
There's a banker.
Yeah,
you have a point. You have a point. But the bigger point is that there are people whose perspective is, I want to earn good money, I want to be dressed and wear a suit. That's what defines it. And then banking is what they do to assure that life. What we're now going for are people who have a commitment to do things in certain sectors, make changes. So I've got a lot of people from, we have something called the heart sector, where we've identified 5 sectors that we want to genuinely transform. And so it's healthcare, education, agriculture, renewable energy, and transport. And I've got people who have set out to be specialists in this field. They're now carrying a banking ID card, but their day job has very little to do with traditional banking. But to sum it up, what made banking so difficult before was that it was fundamentally clerical. The nature of banking was bookkeeping and accounting and a lot of record keeping. and to some extent, a lot of cash movement and all of that. That is disappearing now, right? What we used to call the back office in banking is gradually being digitized. And so, for instance, you make a payment now, there is no human being passing any entry to get it recorded in our books. It's automatically recorded. Before, that would have required some accountant who will receive your checkbook and sort of write it out and pass all the entries. So that transition means that a different kind of workforce can now thrive in banking, focusing on what they would be doing if they're working in really any tech company.
I know that for Sterling, there are lots of initiatives that are happening now. You guys have like an accelerator, I believe, and some other things. Could you talk about some of the things that people are doing right now that is not solely banking anymore, that is sort of futuristic and like forward-looking?
Okay, I think I would look at the different approaches that we have for trying to solve problems first, right? And I'll sort of be biased on tech, related problems or tech-related solutions. So the first thing we do is we have a technology division in the company, and I think we've got about 300 people working there now. Maybe more. It used to be 50 when I started running the company. We now probably have over 300 people. And they primarily focus on optimizing the existing banking business that we have. So you've got all your existing back office. How do we make that more efficient? How do we invest in that and all of that? We've also got the customer-facing side of it. How do we build product that our customer can interface with? So they're doing that. That's sort of digitizing the legacy institution, making it, essentially future-proof. The other thing we do is we also invest. So there are institutions where we're just pure investors. Essentially, it's corporate venturing. We use a little bit of our balance sheet to support startups that are solving problems, especially if those problems are related to the hard sector or to banking, primarily the hard sector. So again, that's something else we do. The third thing that we're doing a little bit more, and it's getting more exciting, is we do co-creation. So we've got an idea, but it's not central to us. We don't have enough resources to focus on it. We're looking for young people who also are thinking about a similar thing, and we kind of co-create. We bring in the ideas, we bring in resources, they commit their time and build it together. So we co-create. We're also incubating. So beside the internet tech, we also have a co-creation hub. Essentially, within the bank, we've got we're incubating. We've got ideas that are not yet at the level where the bank should worry about it full time, but we think they're exciting. Within our strategy team, we've now got little things that are incubating these ideas and sort of, trying to do the proof of concept in the hope that we can then, once they work, we can then move them into like an accelerator. So we've got that as well. I think those are the ideas that we work with right now. That's the way we kind of try to take product to market. I'm trying to think if I missed out any. And we've got a couple of tech hubs. So we've moved from having all the tech people sitting in Lagos. We are in 3 different locations, I believe. 2 have certainly gone live, but probably a 3rd one soon. So what I mean is that we're kind of trying to take the work to the people instead of trying to pull all the tech workforce into Lagos. So we've got a place in Kano, we've got one place coming up in Abeokuta. Certainly Abuja would follow, so that we kind of work within the communities and build things.
Awesome. That sounds really, really interesting. If you have any questions, like I said, you can raise your hand at any point in time and then just jump right in. So I'm looking at, I don't know if you can still hear me. You look frozen.
Absolutely, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah. You look frozen. Chimande, your hand is up. You can go ahead.
So, hello, Mr. Abubakar. You said something about creating more tech hubs in other parts of Nigeria. I'm saying I want to ask this question because I recently moved from Port Harcourt to Lagos, and I think in Port Harcourt there's just one Sterling Bank in the whole, one or just 2 Sterling Bank in the whole city. If I'm not mistaken, yes, one at Rumola Road, yes, because I've been there before. So I was hoping in this expansion of more tech hubs in Nigeria, if River State could be a consideration, so that the South
Okay.
South can have something of their own.
Well, I can tell you for free that one of the fastest coming place we're working now is Owerri. So yes, South South needs to be back on our radar. We have one of the ways we interact with our customers and our communities through the Cafe One. So the Cafe One is sort of a brand that functions as a co-working space, functions as a coffee shop, but also does basic banking in that location, right? So we've realized that people don't really like to go to banks, but they still like their coffee and they still like to have meetings with their friends. And Cafe One has been
I
incredibly
hate
successful.
going to banks. Hate it.
So do I, actually. So do I. So we found out that people are meeting up and starting companies in one now. People are hiring staff by meeting up. So again, we know that people will have to interact and meet. What the bank need to do, the Bank of the Future need to do, is to figure out what that kind of meeting would look like and be part of that ecosystem, to support that ecosystem, and you end up doing banking for them. So yes, thank you for that. I'm going to talk to my team after this call, ask them to sort of talk me through their South plan.
Great.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you, Chiwendu, for bringing that up and putting it. You have made a difference for South already.
Absolutely.
Okay, Winga. Wait, I don't know. Ibuku, your hand is up. Is it up from before, or you want to also ask a question or say something?
Okay, it was up from before that, but I was intending to do something actually.
Okay, go
Anyway.
ahead then. Go ahead.
Okay, so good evening, Mr. Abubakar.
Evening.
Yes, so you were talking about attracting talent and how that has been quite difficult, especially because of the role that traditional banking has been playing for most banks in Nigeria. And that for Sterling Bank, you guys have been working on trying to bring in new talents and all. So now I'm going to ask from the background of this Japa movement.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you motivate people to like go the extra mile in the face of this widespread relocation and all? I mean, you want to retain talents and all, but while other young talents are seeing their peers moving for greener pastures abroad, how do you then motivate others that are like left behind?
Okay, thanks for that question.
Left behind, like they've left us behind. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That was not intended, Nkechi.
Yeah.
For those of us that stayed, so we feel like, oh, it was a choice and we stayed. This was like, oh, if you could not make it, so we left you.
That's an interesting conversation for another day, but let me quickly share an example. Well, I'll tell you, the reason people leave for Canada or the United Kingdom or Germany often has very little to do with the company they work for and has a lot to do with the society they live in, right? I had an instance where one of my most trusted assistants wanted to leave just before I became CEO. And I had a conversation with her. Why are you thinking about it? In fact, at this point, she was going to start the process. And she felt she ought to let me know before she actually starts the process. And I asked, why are you doing this? And she says, look, I'll show you. She brings out her phone and shows me a video of the water that came out of the tap in her house in the morning of that day. And it was that water coming out of her tap that was the last straw for her. So the things that affect people that make them leave sometimes cannot be controlled by the company they work for. However, for instance, in reaction to that kind of experience, we just completed a 140 apartment gated community for our staff. We're about to scale it up to 200 and 350, all in one location, solar powered. We intend to put about 6,000 square meters of office space within that space, right? That's a project commencing this year. Why? Because we feel like if we can protect them, if we can give them some level of protection within their environment, then we'll be doing some of what the government ought to do. Keep them safe, give them light, give them water, remove the daily traffic, all of that stuff that gets you frustrated. So that's the first part. Now back to the bigger question: what do we have to do to keep people? We try to give them a purpose. we try to give them something that it's unlikely they're going to get if they just, switch to another country. We try to give them something bigger than just earning a living, and a lot of people understand it. So I have people who are with us, and they're trying to solve problems in the tertiary education space, and they're having significant conversations that, if it is successful, will affect the lives of hundreds of thousands, right? For those people, they are not about to go anywhere. We will just have to keep supporting them, but they're willing to pay the price. They're willing to make some sacrifice. So the brilliant mind that will be left in Nigeria after this Japan wave will be people who are incredibly brilliant, but who, for them, life has become more than just, how do I make my own position better? People who are looking to, it's very difficult to better 1 million people in Canada. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's actually pretty, it's very possible in Nigeria to be part of a work job that would affect the lives of 1 million people and still live a decent life. What is our response to it as a company? We are accelerating talent development. We're putting a lot of money behind talent development. We know we'll lose 80% of them. It doesn't matter. We just have to continue to build more talent.
That's such a big sacrifice, like investing in talent development itself, because there's this uncertainty. You don't know. You could be investing for your competition to come and poach, but Absolutely. In the end, you still have to do it, because if you don't, you would have this people with the same skill levels still working there, and they may never leave, and it wouldn't help the overall benefit of the goal or the mission, right? So
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And just to add to that, the way to think about it is that if you don't invest in talent, you will die anyway. So you might as well have a play. If you don't invest in talent, the company is going to die.
That's absolutely true. It's going to die because things are rapidly changing. So you have to keep evolving, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Gwenga, your hand is up. You can go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Abubakar. So my question is generally, my name is Binga, and my question is going to be more about my personal curiosity. Like you mentioned that Sterling Bank is kind of focused on not represent, but like focused on tech in a way. So like I was wondering, do you think blockchain is kind of a relatively new thing, right? Do you think blockchain as a way, not cryptocurrency, I'm not talking about cryptocurrency, I mean the blockchain tech itself. Do you think banks could benefit from leveraging blockchain to like, I don't know, it's just like general curiosity, like do you think the tech itself has a place in the banking industry? Like forgetting the cryptocurrency aspect of it.
Yeah, I can even talk about the cryptocurrency as well. It does have, there's a conversational value there. I think that blockchain is going to play a very significant role, but the immediate opportunity does not lie directly in the banking space. What do I mean by that? If what we're doing in banking today is payments, and then some element of lending and investing, the role blockchain can play there is very limited, because there's no massive value enhancement in payments today from deploying blockchain. And I speak as someone who has worked with it and deployed it. I have experimented with blockchain on a couple of products internally. I have one that is external. So blockchain is a powerful tool, but we've not been able to, I think blockchain to work, we need to start with some foundational assets, right? Things like the identity program scheme, things like other financial assets and non-financial assets, right? Before it then becomes useful in the way it is primarily used now. Now, the greatest use of blockchain today is for cross-border payments. That value is instant. It is here, it is now, it is real. And if not for regulation, that would be, to my mind, one of the fastest growing use case for blockchain in financial system. But it's just that the way blockchain is designed now is that it doesn't allow me to solve that problem without trying to circumvent the existing foreign currency rules. And so cross-border payment has stalled because of that. But no, there are a lot of use cases. We built a blockchain platform that is a commodities exchange, right? We are hopefully in the next couple of weeks be launching another platform that also tokenizes real asset and they become investment assets that are tradable. So the use cases are there. And I think a lot of banks are working on it, but it would be a lot more useful if we can get the government to actually adopt some of these as foundational asset on which we can then build other stuff.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. Like I didn't know you guys were working on something like that. I've always felt like banks take a while to like shift, I guess, because of the way it's built. It's built very capital heavy. Like there's so many processes that are basically fixed. So that agility to respond to things, I felt like that was something that they didn't have. So the fact that you guys are working on that is quite interesting.
I work on blockchain dates back to about 4 years. For over 2 years now, we've had a live blockchain platform that is used internally for equities transactions. So all the employees of the bank have shares in the bank. Those shares are now
you guys have stock options. You guys have stock options in Sterling.
Yeah, we do. And we actually have a very interesting option where you do get the actual shares allocated to you every month. So you get the shares transferred to you every month, and it becomes part of your. Originally, you used to have a vesting period, but increasingly we're taking out the vesting period.
Interesting. Wow. People are asking if you're hiring in the comments. So they're about to say
Yes, we are constantly hiring. Constantly hiring. In fact, I think what we should probably do is find a time to share with people all of the stuff we're doing, and you can pick your own project.
Yeah, please. Because we have all the digital residents on Slack. So if you hear,
fantastic. That's a great idea. And we're not just only hiring, we're also co-creating. So for people who are on a project that might be a little bit too much for you to digest, or where the presence of a financial institution can accelerate your progress, you can co-own and co-create. So we're very open to the different ways of getting things done.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. This is good. Anthony, your hand is up. Go ahead. And if you have questions, please raise your hand as well. Anthony, over to you.
Good day, Mr. Abubakar. Thanks for joining us. So my question is this. So I know you're talking about the bank kind of moving towards technology, but still one of the reasons why people leave Nigeria is because they can access some financial instrument like abroad. For example, friends that have gone to like Germany, they can have like easy access to like mortgage to like get a house. They can also they can just get loans to like do stuff, and not like the kind of loan issues we're having in Nigeria with all those loan apps, not those kind of things, but like they have this
credit facility.
Yeah, credit facility. I'm thinking, so even though as I'm moving towards tech, there are still some fundamental services that banking should provide that I think is lacking in Nigeria. Maybe for some people, maybe they have to like be employed in an organization to like access some of those things. But on this call, we have people that like kind of work remotely, and we get paid. But then our colleagues in Berlin can access some things that we don't know how to like access. And in fact, some people, if they just land in Canada, they just get emails of things that they can get like from banks, and like they have these plenty emails of like, we can help you with this, you can get this car, just different things. But here you get to struggle to see those kind of information, or if you find them, they're like very expensive, and I'm like, man, I'm just going to save my money until I get the complete amount. So I don't know if Sterling Bank or banking in general that are looking towards something like that. Is the demographic too small?
No, it is not. And in all honesty, we actually do have a product. I just don't know if you've tried it before. I think we have, last year alone, over 106 billion naira was given to people through our Spectre platform. It's a digital platform. You don't have to go to the bank. You can complete your entire process online, download, and sort of finish your process. So I don't know if you've had the experience and didn't qualify, but that platform is actually open to people, whether they're in pay, whether in formal employment. Spectre. Maybe I would try and put it up in the
chat. I've actually
Okay, you've used it.
You tried it?
Not
did it work for you?
No, I've not used, but I've seen Spectre. Yeah, so when I see some of those platforms, I think maybe the amounts start from like, where they start from like 5K and starts growing to like you get reasonable amount. So most times I do not like start.
No,
I'm sure.
Spectre gives an average of 2 million naira.
Oh, okay.
So
Maybe I'll check
people
it.
who are not employees of Sterling Bank, if you are banking with Sterling, you can get up to 5.
Interesting.
Yeah, by the way, I have a friend that works as a developer in Sterling Bank, and his experience is different from others in other banks. So kudos to what you guys are doing.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
See,
Thank you. Still a lot
that's
more work,
great.
but we'll keep trying.
That's good. That's good. There are very few people that have nice things to say about where they work, so that's quite interesting.
Yeah, and
Thank
I
you.
worked one
I think
I know the difference. I would say-
no, but you're making a very solid point, right? It's not just enough to say I'm going to use technology. We have to solve the simple problems first before you use technology. Otherwise, it's not different if you don't have the right product. You cannot advertise nothing. So I agree with your view. And I'll also pay a bit of attention to how we accommodate new ways of work that is emerging. Maybe slow to that, but it's becoming a very big segment of the workforce now.
Yeah. What are you observing in the new way people are working now? Because with each generation, their own work preference and style is changing. And I feel like Gen Z is shaking all the table, breaking it, and like we don't do tables anymore. So what are you observing in the way what people are looking out for in what like where they are working? What are you observing?
So we were early to some of the ways of work that have become common now. We were early to a bit of remote work. We even experimented with 4-day work week in 2019. So we've tried some of this stuff. We've been open-minded about it. But what I'm also learning is that for young people who are just starting off in their career, they need to be in a workplace. There's just so much you
Like
cannot
physically
learn.
good.
Yeah, there's so much you cannot learn on your own. So much it's a lot is missing when you don't interact with people and sort of get a first-hand feel of it. So we are finding ways to accommodate that. The average person is selling today does a hybrid. They come to work an average of 3 times a week. What the hybrid does for us is it makes it possible for people to sort of manage the stress associated with the environment. And also, we also have variable, which means that people also get to choose when they come to work. So you can time yourself and avoid the worst part of the day. So these are the things that are found to be effective. What has not been totally effective is outright remote work. Self-management is not yet, well, it takes time for people to transition to that point where they can actually focus on value delivery as opposed to told what to deliver and when to deliver. So there's a lot of work going on there. I think it's inevitable. More of it will happen, but that we shouldn't rush it, because if you get the foundation wrong, the organization will become a culture. It become difficult for you to improve on.
Interesting. Jerry, your hand is up. Go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to ask one question, right? Because previously, you said you talked about how the transition of blockchain and how banks can, government regulations and all. So earlier, some years back, I knew Sterling Bank had something to do with Bantu blockchain. And I just wanted to ask, what's the relationship with Bantu blockchain and what are you guys working on? And also, how are you guys going to deal with government regulations as regards blockchain? And also, do you guys see yourselves, or the Sterling Bank see themselves investing heavily in decentralized technology in the nearest future?
Okay, so I actually sit on the board of the Bantu Blockchain Foundation. It was part of my way of trying to encourage blockchain adoption, both within the bank and also externally. And I think quite a bit of that is already happening. The thought process behind Bantu Blockchain Foundation was we needed a layer 1 blockchain infrastructure, and there was none in Africa. And all of the blockchain assets that were being built were being developed on other people's infrastructure. That's how they've been able to build something that is functional, that is actually being used now. But the team from Bantu is also working on a lot of other interesting stuff, taking the same set of infrastructure and learning and applying it in a few of their parts. We have a relationship with the founding members where we're working with them on a couple of projects internally. Just the same way InterSwitch also work with them. I think Access Bank now has worked with them. So thinking behind the foundation, the Bantu is how do we create an ecosystem of blockchain enthusiasts and ambassadors and promoters, and then the technical knowledge to drive the product that will come out of it. You would see a couple of products that will come out with that would be a partnership, or we have worked with them, or they advised us. So there is a long-term collaboration going on with them to apply blockchain in finance. How do we deal with the regulators? We wait, right? We make sure we have the skills, we make sure we have the understanding, we make sure we play with what has been approved, and then we wait for essentially the bell. So once the regulator says it's time to go, we take off. But we're patient about this. We're not, when you're as old as I am, you kind of learn to be a friend to time. You know that the things that will take time will take time, and regulatory changes will take time.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
I feel when people look at what are some of the things that could kill your business in Nigeria, regulation is like maybe top 3. It's somewhere there because you just never know how it would strike. You can plan for so many things. You can be like, okay, my customers will not like it. Okay, I will tweak it this way, or this competition will come. But the government coming up with something that would just destroy your entire business model, it can be quite ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay,
My
Ibrahim, you
advice
had
to everyone, before Ibrahim, my advice to anyone is to pay attention to government. You don't have to love them, but pay attention to them because they do matter.
Yes, I agree. I think lots of these much more older companies that have raised maybe like a Series A, Series B, and they are beginning to see how important it is to have a relationship with government in some ways. And I think that's quite interesting. Okay, Ibrahim. We can't hear you at all. I can see that you're not mute, but we can't hear you. Is it the volume in space or something?
Yeah.
It's too far. Ibrahim, we can't hear you. You're muted now, though. I think he had to hop off. Maybe he'll hop back in. Okay, Stephen, you can go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Abubakar.
Good evening.
You spoke a lot about how Sterling Bank is being proactive about developing talent and reaching out to, smart, talented Nigerians around. And while you were talking, it just flashed through my mind the Clean Up Lagos program I think Sterling Bank started and how successful it had been. And I kind of was thinking of how that community approach, that proactive, forward going community approach helped the Clean Up Lagos program, and how it probably could be leveraged to the talent development programs that you guys are currently carrying out. And I just wanted to ask if there are any existing programs that you guys have you like to talk about, because as much as you mentioned some of these things, for me personally, this is like the first time I'm hearing about those things, and I know that for a lot of people it will be the same. So it's one thing to have these programs, and it's another thing to have people that actually need them the most know about them. So I just want to know if there are any particular programs that, aside from the program itself, like any strategy that actually take what you're doing to the people you're doing it for. You know.
No, that's a very important, I guess, point you're raising. I personally recognize that we have not been very good at pushing the stuff that we do. And we're trying to work on that. So we're trying to build teams to help us with that. And that was because we were kind of trying to be ambidextrous. We were still at heart a traditional bank and a conservative one, because that is a own pedigree as bankers. We've always been the conservative type. And here we are trying to transit into a product organization with a completely new set of rules, and we were sort of trying to tread that. So yes, that has been the case. What am I most proud of? And well, since you've talked about government collaboration, I will list a couple of things we've done that I feel might be worth thinking about. We launched the Lagos ID project. We are providing 3 million smart cards to Lagos State so that the citizens of Lagos State who get the Lagos residential registration actually gets a card that is then able to work smartly with all the services being provided in Lagos, from the current ones such as transport and toll gate to future products to even the trail that is coming up. But at the same time, it functions as a bank card, so you can also work on a POS, on ATM, and then we connect it to a bank account number, so you can then obviously run your bank from it as well. That was something we launched formally with Lagos State about a month ago, and it's just beginning to kick off now. I think we're just getting to that point where it is working and people are using it, and more people are being given that. And since you talk about the cleanups, one of the things that has come out of cleaning up Lagos is we're building a bank called Waste Bank. This is not in the public space yet, but I think I'm so excited about it, I'll talk about it. And what we've simply done is to design a bank that would have branches where you can go and deposit your recyclables and get credited to your account immediately. So we're going to have a lot of pickup, but beyond that, we also have a pickup, we have an Uber version of it, where if you have enough waste in your recyclable in your house, you simply just fix a time and dial for pickup and they'll come pick it up, right? So that's sort of, again, looking at the problem of the state. How do we deal with waste? How do we deal with plastic waste in particular? And then how can we monetize that so that we deal with unemployment? You know, that's sort of, then we have a climate change issue. How do we make sure that we, you know, what can we do that will address so many elements of the critical problems of the society? And that was one of them. There is I just posted a couple of products just so I will see the one, but I'm very, well, there are some.
I think his network just took him out. He'll probably be able to join back in. Okay. Before he joins in again, because of time, we'll probably be able to take maybe just 2 more questions. Ibrahim is one. Ibuku, I don't know. I feel like your hand is up from before again. Right? Okay, Abubakar, are you back?
Yeah,
That's
I'm
right.
back now. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. Okay, awesome.
Okay. So I guess I was just sort of trying to answer that question by naming a few products. What I will do instead is I'll just drop a few links so you can just check them out yourself. But
Jones,
thanks
did
for
you
highlighting.
just put your own referral code for Activate?
I'm not sure whose referral code will be there, but yes, somebody is activating. Okay, well, now that I get a chance, I'll tell you what we're trying to do with Activate. We're trying to consolidate the significant subscriptions that people actually have to pay for and bundle it into a single monthly payment and then throw in back in for free. And the bundle payment will ensure that people actually pay less than they would have paid. Not only do they have all of a single subscription, but they also pay less than the total value of what they then have. And a couple of other stuff we're trading to it, but again, it's
I
all,
like
it's
this
all part
alt invest you just said.
You're going
one
to like
sounds really
that. You're going to like that because there is a product we're going to put in the market that we bet will be the only one that would have the product at least for a while. And it's an actual product that allows people to build wealth. So we are working hard to find actual banking solutions, not just technology solutions. We actually recognize that we're not going to be the best tech provider. That's not our primary core. But if we create enough solutions, we will be able to partner with people who do tech better than us and just deliver the product.
Interesting. Okay. Before we take Ibrahim's question, I'm sorry that we're going a bit over time. We'll probably wrap up in about 5 or so minutes. Do you think that some of these products will end up spinning off as their own company, maybe like a fintech on its own, raise equity separate and just be like an entire company in itself?
It is possible. So that's not how we've envisioned it in the short term, because we've asked ourselves. So there was a point where it was very tempting because there was an opportunity to get proper valuation for assets and all of that. But we feel like over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have a down market. So it's a good time to just hold on to your asset and build it. Now, when market reopens again, we may realize that our best bet is to spin off a couple of things, and we might do that.
Okay, great. Okay, Ibrahim, let's see if we can hear you now, all the way from space.
Thank
Somewhere
you.
in Jupiter.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah. So my question was like, so I've been following Abubakar, like, so I follow him online, follow what he does. So I'm just curious, like, what keeps you grounded? And because I'm curious, right? Like, you've been in finance for like 20 years, been in Sterling Bank for like 18 plus, and I know in my small career, like I've switched like how many times? So like, I'm just curious, like, what's that thing, that one thing that kept you in finance for that long?
I used to be like you. I used to change job every 18 to 24 months. So the first 6 years of my life, I think I'd worked for like 4 different companies.
Wow.
Yeah. So I worked for, well, I started somewhere, I won't count it because I was a youth corp. Then I worked for Anderson, then I left Atlantic. I went to work for a bank that is now part of First Bank. Then I left that. I went to work for another bank that is now part of FCMB. I left that. I went to work for Citibank. Finally, I got caught in Citibank because I finally found a challenge that genuinely made me want to go to work every day. I think my problem was a lot of the work that I got. After the first couple of months, I kind of feel like, I know this stuff. What am I doing here? This is not, I'm not making a difference. The reason I left Citibank to sort of join Sterling and build what we've built now was a bank that was run out of New York. And so nothing got done by Nigerians and nothing got done for Nigeria. Everything that was done with a different set of intent. And I was like, why are we doing all of this and our country doesn't get the benefit or get the consideration? Because we're not significant to them. They were just a little branch in the hinterland. So that was why I left. I like, why can't we go and build a bank that can do things that we want done, that will do it for the reasons that we want? And that kind of motivation is very difficult to kill, because the objective you have is so huge that no matter how much you've done, you have barely scratched the surface. So that has meant that the target we've set for ourselves is one that we're not going to be able to ever get to the end. It's not going to be a point where we say, oh, we've solved this, so we can stop. That helps. The other thing is that I got lucky with the people that I have around me. I have a lot of people around me who are trying to do exactly what I'm trying to do. They believe in what I'm trying to do. And so in a difficult moment, we sort of help each other to get through and keep going. But at a personal level, I don't think that I don't have the DNA of a banker. Right. I don't think it's in me. I don't want to dress in fine suit and walk into a room and get attention. That's not who I am. When I was in school, the first thing I wanted to do was be a poet. When it was clear that I wasn't going to work, I then read economics. And so deep down, the banking thing, the flashy banking, that's just not who I am. I'm using the bank as a platform to then push other things that are bigger than banking that I believe in. I know that it is best for the bank long term, but it's not. I just don't think that if I made the most profit and sort of, got on the stage for the next 5 years, I would leave feeling like I've done something worthwhile.
I think that's really amazing. Honestly, I've absolutely loved this session. Anytime you talk, I feel like there's so much authenticity and truth in what you're saying. That comes from great experience. And I feel like that's what everyone here has gotten to enjoy. I don't know if you have any last comments or advice for digital residents so that before we could wrap up.
Well, I think the fact that you're a digital resident already tells me that your head is in the right place. It means that you choose to be here. I mean, that's the first part of it. It means you really don't have to be here. It's a choice. And I think it's a great choice. I believe, and I've said this many times, that Nigeria is inevitable. It's immaterial what those people do in the long run. It matters in the short term. They've created a lot of pain for us, but their action is immaterial in the long term. I used to have a private side joke. I used to have someone who was an Indian who used to work for my bank, and I was much younger then. I was in my 30s and I was hot-headed. And there were a couple of other senior people in their late 50s or heading to 60s who I was always fighting with. And at some point I sat and I told the Indian that it doesn't matter what you do or don't do, I'm going to outlive you, right? You're going to be gone and I'm still going to be here. So that is the secret weapon of your generation. It doesn't matter what they do. They're going to be gone. You're going to be here. So you win anyway, right? You just got to prepare for what you will do when you finally win. You're going to get a poison chalice. It's the same attitude that I take to all of this thing around me. It doesn't matter. And that's exactly what happened. At some point, they became too old to remain in the bank. They left. I am here, and we're rebuilding in our own spirit. So remember that. I actually don't think that, again, I hope I don't live to regret saying this, but I don't think that Japa is a bad thing. I don't think that it is necessarily, I think it's a wake-up call that we needed. And Nigeria has this attitude about not doing the right thing until all the other options are taken off the table. I think the pain of all these talented young people leaving us is going to force us to do some fundamental rethinking about how we create talent and how, effectively we become a talent center. Because once you then build the infrastructure for creating talent, you can switch it off. It's just going to keep, growing. So medium term, we're going to look back and realize that this jackpot was a wake-up call that then led to a transition that hopefully made us bigger than India. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's so amazing. I think investing in talent is really how we invest in the future as well. Thank you for taking out the time and being with us today. A few things I'm going to follow up with you on are like the list of projects and opportunities that will be great for the neighbors. I can share with them as well. But thank you so much. You guys should put your thank yous in the comments. Thank you so much also for everyone that joined in this session. Truly, truly grateful. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Suleiman. Thank you, Keshi. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.
And
thank you.
Must apologize for catching up late. Not my style.
It really isn't. I told them the same thing.
I promise.